Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Keisha Natalie Cole here, aka K Talking Sense, live, coming to you from my living room slash studio slash office slash movie theater slash everything. I am so excited for tonight. There is just so much information that I want to share. Let me make sure I've got everything ready for you all. Take this time, man, listen, to share this broadcast with everybody that you know, right? There's just so much good information that needs to be shared. I'm excited about this, and I cannot wait um, to start chatting about the different things that's happening. Listen, everybody is working towards retirement, right? Everybody wants that day where they're just like, I don't have to do anything. I can relax. I can travel. I can garden. I can volunteer my time. I can do whatever it is that I want. Right. And so, what I want to do tonight is I just want to talk to you about a couple of things, about building your financial house. What are some of the things you need to consider when you are planning for retirement? What are some of the questions you should be asking? What are some of the questions you should be thinking about? And I'll show a couple of slides, just to go over a couple of things so that everybody can understand. What I want for you to do is I want for you to drop all of your questions in the chat. All right. Talk to me. I'm going to be talking to you by myself, right? Basically, talking to myself. But any questions that you have, any comments that you have, be sure to drop it in the chat. Okay. Share this live with everybody because this is some important stuff that we need to learn, that we need to know, so that when you get to that point where you are ready to plan for retirement, you are already one step ahead. Okay. So make sure you take this time, share, 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 drop in the comments, let me know that you're here and let's talk about it. This is going to be very informal. I'm just gonna share some concepts with you all, some things that maybe you've already learned, some things that you may not have learned, right? I'm going to share these concepts with you because I want to make sure that you understand. My goal is to educate the community, right? I want our community to thrive. I want our community to be in the know, and I want our community to benefit from everything that is there for us, right? You got to take advantage of everything that you don't know about. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's always good to learn some things, man. So here's the thing. I'm going to touch on a couple of different things. I'm going to kind of go over some concepts in terms of investing. I'm going to go over some concepts in terms of retirement. I'm going to go over some concepts in terms of some of the issues that we're facing today, right? As I mentioned earlier, there's 75% of people that are retiring feel like they're not going to be able to retire. And that's crazy. That's a very huge number, right? And I think 2020 kind of set us back, right? Because a lot of people had to live off of some of their savings. And so now it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? How am I going to make it through? And so that's what I want to talk to you tonight about. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself, Keisha Natalie Cole. No, I am not Keisha Cole, Key. I am Keisha Cole, Kei. Okay, the original. I was born first. Thank you very much. Keisha Natalie Cole. And I've been doing this business for about 8 years. Okay. I'm a mom. I've got a couple of children. Some are rusties, some are still teens, right? And I love music. I'm a singer, I'm an actress. I'm like a lot of things, right? But my most favorite thing to do is educating. My most favorite thing to do is teaching. And so I've been doing this for the last 8 years, and I've been doing a lot of financial wellness seminars weekly. I'm doing seminars, right? And so I've been fortunate to sit down with a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of individuals, a lot of small businesses, and really just talk about helping them get on track financially. Okay. And in this process of teaching these workshops and for all different group sizes and sitting with all these hardworking families, I realized a few things. Okay. And I want to share those with you as I get started. See, here's what I know that you don't need. Okay. You don't need some type of goofy sales pitch. Okay. Am I right or am I wrong? Right. You don't need a goofy sales pitch, right? We've all heard enough of those, and especially when it comes to finances. And we don't want to hear any more of that, right? So the truth is that we don't really need any more financial products. So what do I mean by that, right? Most people own enough financial products. And most of the time, they've been brought through a sales process, right? But not an educational process. And rather than me wasting your time, right? Because I don't want to waste your time, and I'm trying not to waste my time, right? But I want to talk to you about what you want. Okay. And certainly this is some of the things that I've learned that people want and need. Okay. So here's what people do want. All right. And here's what people need. Number one, people want the facts. They want the facts, right? So once you have all the facts, then and only then are you able to make an educated decision in terms of life, in terms of your financial decisions, right? Then and only then you're able to make those decisions, right? There's a lot of people who are missing key facts. And if you're missing key facts, you're going to make wrong decisions, right? It just is what it is, okay? And if we get all the facts, then we can make the right decisions, right? We can make wise decisions. Like I said, we don't need any more financial products, but what we do need is we need to know that we need to know the things that we own, we need to know how they are, how they work together, right? How do they match? What are the key facts that we need to know to make those financial decisions? How are the different areas of our finances fit together and work together? Okay. And we need an overall strategy to get to where we want to go. And it's very valuable to get a clear picture of where you stand today. Okay. Like I said, I want y'all to take a minute and just share this live with everybody. We're live here on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook. So tell everybody to come on in the room, join us, right? So that we can all be a part of this conversation. I'm excited about tonight. I'm excited about some of the things that we're going to be going through. And I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be a part of this live. Let me make sure that we are all good to go. All right, cool. So, like I was saying, we just want to make sure that the financial products that we do have, we want to make sure that we understand how they fit together, right? Because things have to fit together in order for things to work out, okay? And it's very valuable to know where you stand today, because a lot of people, they really don't know. Most families that I've sat down with over the years, right? Again, they're hardworking, they're intelligent, right? But they don't necessarily have a clear picture of where they stand. And that's very, very valuable. And I've also learned over the years that there's three main reasons why people don't do well financially, right? Or they don't do as well as they could. And those reasons is failure to plan, right? The second one is they're uninformed. And the third thing is they're missing key information, right? They're missing key information. In other words, they have the information. The only thing is it's incorrect, right? They're misinformed. And so let's explore some of those reasons a little bit deeper. And like I said, the first one is failure to plan. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a couple of scenarios, right? And I want you to drop in the chat, some answers to the questions that I may put out there. If you have questions yourself, make sure you drop that in the chat as well. And let's talk about this thing, right? So the first thing is that people don't plan to fail, right? They just fail to plan. And they don't know how to plan. They don't know the first thing about planning. And so we want to make sure that people understand how that works. Because if they don't plan, they're probably not going to know how it works, right? All right. So help me out here, okay? How many people have been to a wedding? I mean, I know I've been to a lot of weddings, right? I've had my own wedding, but think about those weddings that you've gone to. And what I want to know is I want you to think about how long does it take for that wedding to be planned, right? I'm talking about from when the bridesmaids and the bride, right, the grooms and the groomsmen, when they're all getting themselves together, and when they go to the ceremony, right? Then when they leave the ceremony, they got to go to the reception, and then when they leave to the reception, they get in the car or the limo or whatever, drive to the airport so that they can go on their honeymoon. How long do you think that these events take, right? How much time do you think it takes? Sometimes when I ask this question, I get answers like 12 hours, maybe 24 hours. Literally, it takes all day, right? It takes all day for the whole process to go through. Okay. Now, let me ask you this question. I want you to think about this. All right. How long do you think the bride and her mom take on planning, right? How long does it take for them to plan, right? Let's think about that. Probably about 2 years, right? 3 years, 1 year, right? A year and a half is usually the answers that I get. But absolutely, it takes a long time to plan this wedding, right? Now, here's the thing. We can all agree that it's going to take about 12 to 18 months or maybe even longer for us to plan this wedding. Now, I want you to think about this. How long does your average retirement last? Okay, do we know how long your average retirement lasts? I want y'all to think about that for a second. How long do you think the average retirement lasts? And most times when I ask this question, a lot of times I get answers like 25 years, 30 years, right? And if you're very fortunate, definitely 25 years. But we can agree that retirement is usually about 15 to 20 years for sure, right? We know for sure about 15 to 20 years of our life is spent in retirement, right? So the real question becomes, how long does your average family spend planning for that retirement? When you think about that, how long do you think that they take to plan that retirement? Here's the thing. Statistics tell us that your average person will spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do their entire retirement. Now, don't get me wrong. They work their whole life to get there. Okay. And most of us work about 25 to 30 years just to get there. But the actual planning amounts to a very small amount of time. So wouldn't you agree that something is a little off if we spend 18 months planning a wedding, right? A one-day event, but we only spend a couple of weeks planning for an event that could potentially last about 25 years? There's a real failure to plan out there, right? And then secondly, people are uninformed. They don't have the information that they need. Y'all, my Amazon order has arrived. You didn't have to ring my doorbell like that. But like I was saying, right, they don't have the right information. But wouldn't you agree, right, that when you think about our educational system, okay, usually our educational system, it's like what? Our educational system is in the US consists of school, college, and then workforce, right? Now, and then sometimes you've got school and straight to workforce, right? And either way is fine. Some people take that path, which is fine. But let me ask you this important question, and I want you to think about this. In that system of school, education, and workforce, okay? Amazon, right? My whole Amazon truck. I think he waited for me to come to the door. Hi, Amazon. Okay, my bad. I'm back. I digress, right? So in that path, right? School, college, workforce. Where were you taught about taxes? I'll wait. Nowhere. Okay. You were not taught about taxes, right? Absolutely nowhere. But when you get out into the workforce and you get your first paycheck, what's the very first thing that happens? Whether you like it or not, them taxes are coming out, right? You see that money deducted, and you're wondering who in the world is FICA, okay? And why are they taking my money, right? We have no comprehension about taxes. And how could we possibly be making the best decisions if we don't have even the basic facts on how that works, right? We're in the system that of education, right? School, college, workforce. We're in that system where you taught the rule of 72. Nowhere. I know I wasn't, right? I was 35 years old before I learned about the rule of 72. I know what you're saying. I absolutely get it. I don't look like I'm 35. I know. I know. I'm not. I know I look like I'm in my 20s. I know. But no, I really, when I was 35, that's when I first learned about the rule of 72. 35, y'all. I was already adulting for a very long time, right? There's nowhere in our educational system that they teach us the rule of 72. And the rule of 72 is fundamentally one of the most powerful principles in all of finance. In fact, if you don't know it, I guarantee you it's being used against you. But it can be understood with fifth grade education. So why is it that we didn't learn this thing, right? Like I said, 35 years old when I learned about it. And I definitely didn't learn it in the education system. Okay. Now, obviously, fifth grade math, but it is incredibly profound. And I'm going to show you that principle a little later on, right? That rule a little later on. It's just unbelievable. So there's a real lack of information in our educational system when it comes to handling money. Now, I'm just trying to say, right? And y'all can let me know in the chat. But if they offered a class on how to get rich 101 in school, who would be front and center with me? Because I legit would be in the front with my notebook, right? Taking all the notes because I'm going to need to be rich, right? Nowhere in our educational system was that class even offered. Okay. And then the third thing that I mentioned was people are misinformed. They may have information, but it's incorrect. Okay. So if we don't learn about money in school or even in college, okay, because listen, I've sat down with people who have master's degrees in finance and still don't know some of the things that I'm going to share with you in our short time together here. Like, can you imagine that? So if we don't learn about money in school, where do we learn about money? Drop it in the comments. Let me know where do you think that we learn about money? And I'm going to tell you a couple of the top answers that I get when I ask this question. Where do you learn about money? Okay. I'll give you a couple seconds, right? Where do we learn about money? Because if we don't learn about it in school, we're definitely not learning about it at home. Where is it that people turn to talk about money? All right, I'm going to tell you. Some of the top answers that I get, right? They'll say the internet, right? The internet. A lot of people go to the internet for information. That's kind of like the bathroom wall of the 21st century, right? Where all the stuff is written, where you go to find the answers to stuff, right? So let me ask you this question. I want you to think about this. Is everything on the internet true and accurate? The answer is no, right? Absolutely not. But a lot of people do go to the internet to get their information, especially the younger generation. They run to the internet. I mean, the World Wide Web is legit their Bible, right? But where else could we go to learn about money? Another answer I usually get is family, right? That's a very common answer, family. Now, if you're taking notes, I want you to jot this one down. You ready? Stop taking advice from people who are more messed up than you. I said it. I said what I said. I'm sticking with it. Stop taking advice from people who are more messed up than you. I mean, think about it. I ain't saying that you hang around messed up people, but let's be honest. Can we all be honest here? Okay. I know I used to take financial advice from people who were broke, right? And when I did that, guess what? I was broke. I was doing things that were poor decisions. I was making poor decisions. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do because I was following folks that had no idea what they were talking about, right? We conform. Why do we conform? Because we don't know any better. Family members tell us, "Oh, this is what Uncle June did, and so that's what you need to do. Grandma did that, so you make sure you have your little tin of money sitting somewhere in the kitchen, hiding, right? Put sugar on there, right?" We listened to them and we followed them because we did not know any better. So family was another common answer, right? Y'all, this Amazon stuff is serious. Don't judge me, okay? I was setting up my new office and I had to get stuff done. Anyway, so So we're talking about getting financial advice from broke people. When I took their advice, I was broke. But I was fortunate enough to meet some people who knew what they were talking about. I was fortunate enough to be in the presence of wealthy people. And guess what happened when I started listening to them? My financial situation changed. Things started happening for me, and I was able to start building wealth, right? Okay, so we said the internet, we said family, right? Family and friends, right? What about accountants? Accountants are another option that folks use, and accountants could be a fantastic source of key information. No question about it. But let me ask you this. I want you to think about this, right? Are accounting principles and financial principles necessarily the same? The answer is no, right? And you can go to an accountant, and I'm not saying an accountant doesn't, may not know financial principles, because there's some out there that do know some financial principles, right? But the function of an accountant, the primary function of an accountant is to keep track of what's already been done, right? Keep track of what's already been done. Does that make sense? Those are the accounting principles, okay? The financing principles deals with making and growing money for the future, right? Handling money going into the future. That's what the finance principles are, okay? So you just have to be careful, because an accountant may or may not have all of the information that's necessary in order to talk to you about your future, right? Accountants are great at what they do. They perform what they have a very important role, but you just have to make sure who you're getting your information from, okay? Another place that you get financial knowledge from, somebody dropped in the chat, financial consultants. Absolutely. And we'll talk about that as well. But another top answer that I always get is the bank. Okay. I always get that answer, but I need you to think about something here. Okay. What are banks in the business of doing? Right? What are they in the business of doing? Banks are in the business of making money, right? They're in the business of making money, lending money, and they do some other things too, but mainly making money and lending money. Okay. And so here's what I want y'all to think about. If their business is to lend money to make money, what motivation do they have to teach you how to get out of debt and pay them less interest? They don't, right? They have no motivation. That their job security lies on the fact that there's a lot of people in debt. So my philosophy is I'd rather see you debt free, right? And paying yourself. Okay. But their philosophy is you need to be in debt. I need to be lending you this money so you could be paying this interest so we could be making money. Okay. So we know banks, that's nice, but I wouldn't necessarily trust them to give me information on how to build wealth. Okay. And that's actually a key piece of building our financial house, right? Let's talk about that. All right. So, everybody that's watching here, we're probably all adults, right? We're working, right? We're building our financial house. Okay. Matter of fact, let me share. Let's see if this will work for me. Awesome sauce. Let's share this. All right. We're building our financial house, and our financial house is built over a long period of time. Okay. It's all of our working years, essentially. So, like I said a couple of minutes ago, maybe 25, 30 years of working, and you have money coming in and then you have money going out, right? Right. And whether you like it or not, that's the important piece here. Whether you like it or not, you're forced to deal with taxes. You're forced to deal with debt in some capacity. You're forced to deal with savings or investing, and you have to deal with insurance. It is a must, right? Whether we like it or not. So we head out into the workplace, we're starting our families, we're trying to build a career, and we have to deal with these complex areas of finance, and we've never been trained to do so. And that definitely could present a problem, right? And over time, we're building this financial house by the way that we handle all of these aspects of money. So let's talk about what it takes to build a well-constructed financial house, right? So I have this image here in front of you. There's a couple of layers in this house, right? When you're building a financial house, you build it from the bottom up, right? What's the single most important element when you're building a house? The foundation, right? The foundation is the single most important element, because if you don't have the right foundation, what's going to happen? Your house is going to fall apart, right? It's like that parable where you build your house on the sand, or you build your house on the rocks, and you build your house on solid, right? You have to build it properly. You have to build that foundation, okay? And the foundation of a well-built financial house is called income protection, because the house is being built over the years, right? It's built on the major assumption that there's going to be money there. Okay. And so we have to have something in place to protect it in case that income, or in case one of the breadwinners passes away too soon and that income stops. Right. And the best way to do that is by using what's called life insurance. Okay. Now, there are two kinds of life insurance: one that's good for the agents who sell it, and one that's good for you and me, good for the consumer. Right. And see, if we're not trained, guess which type most people end up with, right? They end up with the one that's more expensive, the one that pays a bigger commission to the agents. Okay. The other one is more cost effective, but it pays a lower commission, right? And so, because people don't understand how life insurance works, they end up choosing the wrong one. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But I really want to focus on building this financial house, what that looks like, so that you understand and you can start to think about these things as you're planning for your retirement, as you're planning for your future. So we talked about the foundation. We talked about getting life insurance. We talked about making sure that you understand how the different types of life insurance work, right? And I'm going to teach you the mechanics of it a little bit later, and talk to you a little bit about life insurance and salespeople and what they don't want you to know, right? And then you can decide for yourself, because remember what I said: once you have all the facts, then you can make good decisions. All right. So the foundation of a well-built financial house is making sure you get that income protection. Once that's in place, I want you to think about this. All right. What's the next most important thing when it comes to building something, right? When you're building a structure, it's making sure you do it in order, right? There's an order to this. Okay. So imagine if I'm building a house. All right. And I got the foundation set, and I got the whole thing up. I got the framing done, and I got the sheetrock on the walls, and I got it painted, man. And I'm proud of myself. And then all of a sudden, I remember, oh shoot, I forgot the wiring. Well, two things are going to happen. First thing is, it's going to be very expensive to fix, right? And the second thing is, it's going to be messy. And we definitely don't want our financial house to be messy. Okay. And so we want to make sure that when we're building our financial house, we want to make sure that we are following the steps. Okay. So once we got that foundation in place, the next important thing is our emergency fund. Okay. An emergency fund is about 3 to 6 months of your expenses. All right. In cash. Now, a lot of people don't have that. And so it's a goal, right? And if you don't have it in place right now, that's okay. You don't have to panic. It's fine. We're going to talk about some ways that you can start to build that up, right? And maybe free up some money potentially from other areas so that you can begin to save and build up that emergency fund. Because listen, a credit card is not an emergency fund. Let me say that again. A credit card is not an emergency fund. Why? Because that ain't your money, okay? It is not your money. And it's too expensive to borrow money that way, right? So once we have an emergency fund, or as we're building it, we need to plan to reduce and eliminate debt. And we do have control over our debt. We can control our debt, right? I mean, listen, if you've ever been in debt, or if you know somebody that's in debt, drop it in the chat, right? I know I definitely have been in debt, right? I got my debt plan going right now, right? So you want to make sure that you get rid of debt, and that the reality is really debt is a part of our lives, right? Both individually, it's a part of our country, it's a part of our society. It's just something that we have to deal with. And there's good and bad debt, right? But here's the good thing. There's ways to handle it. Okay. Now, the lenders, the people lending us the money, like the banks and the credit card companies, now they don't want us to know how to pay them back. Okay. But the key thing is with a debt plan, you got to write it out. Has to be written, right? We have to have it in writing. When I ask people, what is your debt free date? Like if I'm asking you right now, okay, those of you watching, what is your debt free date? What answer are you going to drop in the chat for me? Letting me know what your debt free date is. A lot of people don't know. Most times the answers are, I don't know. It's either never or when I'm dead, right? And we definitely don't want either of those for you. Okay. But we want you to understand that you can control and eliminate debt if you know the right steps to take. Okay. Now, the next level of the financial house is investing. Okay, as you can see here, you've got retirement and college savings, right? That's investing. Now, this is not short term money. Okay, this is mid and long term money. So, what does that mean? It's saving for things that are important for you. Okay, maybe college education or your retirement, right? Maybe you want to build a house later on down the road. That's what midterm and long term savings or investments are about, right? And when it comes to investing, there are three things that we must protect our hard earned money against. Okay, three things. And the three things that will take the money or at least erode it over time if we don't use specific strategies to protect it are these things: taxation, inflation, and market fluctuation. All right. Taxes can take most of your money if you're not careful. Inflation, which is really just losing buying power over time. Let's say, for example, if you look at $100,000 and how it's spent maybe 25 years ago, what it bought 25 years ago, it's definitely not going to buy that now, right? And market fluctuation is simply the ups and downs of the market, right? A lot of people remember, the crash in 2008, right? That downturn and the financial crisis and the things that happened there. And then the other thing that happened in 2001 with 9/11, right? That's just the way things go. So the key is understanding how to do your best to protect your money from these things. Okay. And then once you get those things going well, then you can build the roof, your other goals and dreams. That's where the fun stuff, right, is, right? That's the part where you get to have a little bit of fun. Now, let me ask y'all this. Which part of the financial house do you think most people want to build first, right? The roof. Most people are living their financial houses upside down, right? They're out there, you can see on social media, traveling, living their best life. They got the best clothes, they're driving the best cars. Their houses are mansions and they're doing all of these things and they don't have the proper foundation. So when something happens, what do we see on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok? We see GoFundMe, right? Oh, can you donate to this person because they didn't have life insurance in place, right? Or they waited too long to get life insurance and then they no longer qualified for it, right? So there's so many reasons why we have to make sure when we're building our financial house, we build it the proper way, because you cannot build your house, the roof on your house first. All right. Now, I want y'all to think about this. I'm going to ask you this question because I want to switch over a little bit and I want to talk about taxes, tax refund. Okay. How many of you watching usually get a tax refund? Or maybe you've never, you've gotten them before, maybe you don't get them now, but you've received a tax refund before, right? And what I want to do is I want to break down and I want to have you think about this with me in a potentially different way. Okay? A different way than you've ever thought about it before. And I want to dig deep on this and I want to break down the psychology of why people get tax refunds. Okay. And so the first question I want you to think about is, why do you get a tax refund in the first place, right? What triggers a refund? Okay. Most times when I ask this question in a presentation, people will say, because we overpaid. Okay. And that's it. That's exactly right. It's because we overpay. So whose money is Uncle Sam sending back to you this spring? Right? Everybody's about to go file their taxes, right? Whose money are you going to get back in the spring? Is it my own money? Is it your own money? Right? And then how much interest did he give you for the loan that you gave him for 12 months? Do you think the government is going to give us any interest off of that loan that we gave them? Because they sure enough made interest off of us, right? None. They're giving us none. Okay. And if you're going to be lending in the lending business, shouldn't you be at least collect some interest? I mean, if I'm going to lend you my money for a whole year, I should get a little bit of interest, right? No. So we give Uncle Sam all our money. He uses it for the year, and then he gives back to us what we overspent with no interest. And we're excited about that. People get excited about tax time, right? Because they know they're going to get a little bit of change back. Okay. But let's take it a step deeper. Why do we overpay? What are some of the reasons why we overpay, right? Most times the answer that I get is because we're afraid. Okay. We're afraid that we're going to owe. All right. Here's the key phrase right there. We're afraid to owe. So we would rather send them extra money because we're afraid of owing Uncle Sam some money. All right. We're afraid of owing the government. And then the second, what do you think it is? Right. Most people don't know, right? They don't know. And there's a different way. So fear of owing and fear of owing and lack of knowledge are the two reasons why we overpay. And then overpaying is why we get a refund. So I want y'all to think about this. Should we be making financial decisions based on fear and lack of? How could we possibly be making the best decisions if that's how we're handling it? Right? What about an adjustment and dialing it in so that at the end of the year we don't owe? But he doesn't owe us either, right? The government doesn't owe us, right? How many people know that you can, a lot of times people get started at their first job, right? And they just put zero down because the HR person or maybe the payroll person doesn't explain to you how it all works. So you just put 0 or 1, right? That's not a guarantee at all. And so we get into the habit of overpaying. So we put the least amount, so we pay the more taxes, so that at the end of the year, come tax time, we're going to get it all back. You know, the actual refund in the United States the past couple of years was about $3,000. So that's an overpayment of $250 a month, right? That's an overpayment, right? If I showed up at your door with a check for $250, no strings attached, it's for you, I want you to take it, I'm sure you would know something to do with that $250, right? You would take that check and say, thank you. And you'd find something to spend it on, right? Now, I know we're joking about it, but here's another scenario. How many families desperately need that $250, right? So what about doing an adjustment, getting some knowledge, which, you know, you'll have because you came here today and you attended this workshop. Talk to your accountant, find out exactly how much money how much in taxes you need to pay in order to break even. Talk to your accountant. If you don't have an accountant, find one, right? Because doing an adjustment and dialing it in, which can be done, right, is going to be right. It's going to get you where you need to go. And now that $250 a month, if you're getting the average of $3,000, right? I mean, you do the math, whatever your refund was divided by 12, that's what you could have in your check. Okay. All right, Sharina, I see you say you do. That's awesome, right? That's what you could have in your check. And then taking the money and using it to build your financial house. So instead of paying the government, overpaying the government, now you're putting that money into your financial game plan. You're paying yourself. All right. So what if 250 could go towards that foundation, right? And I'm just throwing a number out here, right? $50. What if another $50 could go towards building up your emergency fund? So $50 goes toward your foundation, another $50 goes towards building up your emergency fund, right? And another 100 or maybe a little bit could go to accelerating your debt, and you had a way of seeing the best way to pay your debts off, right? And a little bit of acceleration and whatnot. What effect could that have for you? And how much interest could you save? And then there's what's left over could go into an account for the future to build up a little bit of a retirement fund, right? Or some education fund for your kids and, whatever you want to do. Let's say, for example, let's take two families, right? family A and family B. Okay, we're going to put them side by side. These two families are identical. Family A, family B. They make the same income. They have the same number of family members, and they have the same expenses. Okay, financially, they're identical, except family A does what everybody does. They overpay. They pay off a credit card. They overpay when they get their refund. They pay for a vacation, right? They already went on. But family B, however, because of a little bit of knowledge, some insight, they do it a different way, right? They don't get the refund, but they redirect that $250 a month towards their financial house. Do you realize that after 25 or 30 years, family B could have 6 figures in a potentially even tax-free savings account if they put it in the right type of account? Family A didn't have any of that, right? So that little piece of knowledge is a 6-figure difference in the way that I see it, because every extra 100 grand helps. I mean, for real, right? Especially when it comes to retirement. So when we're talking about savings and we're talking about investments, right? I want you to take a couple of minutes, and I really wanted to share this principle with you because I want you to understand what the rule of 72 is, right? I spoke about it a little bit earlier, but I really want you to understand what the rule of 72 is, okay? Let's look at this example here. All right. The rule of 72 says that you divide your interest rate into 72 to find the approximate number of years it takes for your money to double. So it tells you how many years it takes for your money to double. Okay. And I'll say this again, right? It's so important that we learn this rule, because if we don't know the rule, guess what? We're going to be taken advantage of. All right. And somebody's going to be using this rule against us. So if it's possible to double your money, you should probably know how to do it, right? Okay. So we're going to go through this example, and we're going to use 5th grade math, right? You remember back in the day, there used to be a show called Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader or something? And they would ask all these questions, and people be like, no, but clearly I'm not smarter than a 5th grader, right? But this is 5th grade math. We can definitely do this, right? So here's the thing. What we're going to do is we're going to look at these 3 different rates of return. We've got 3%, we've got 6%, we've got 12%. All right. And we're going to see what that looks like in terms of how our money doubles. We open up 3 accounts. Okay. And I'm going to give away $10,000 to 3 people that are on this live right now. Okay, I see Sharina, I see Agape Love Network magazine, and that's all I see. Okay, I need one more person to give $10,000 to. Somebody drop in the chat who I can give this money to. Okay, and make sure at the end of this live, y'all contact me for your $10,000. Now, here's the thing. Okay, the $10,000, it may be rubber, it might be Monopoly money. Okay, but it's $10,000. Okay. So I'm gonna give y'all $10,000. Okay, Agape Love, I give you $10,000, and you and Sharina, I'm giving you $10,000, and then we'll find somebody else to give that third $10,000 to. Okay, we're gonna open up 3 accounts now. Agape is gonna take their $10,000, and he's gonna put it in an account that yields 3%. Okay, for this example, he wants to play it safe. He wants to be conservative. He wants to make sure that the money is going to be there. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So Agape puts the money in the account, making 3%. Okay. Now, Sharina got $10,000, but Sharina is like, you crazy. I'm not putting my money in an account that's 3%. I'm going to put my money into an account that's 6%. Okay. It's got a little bit more volatility, a little bit more risk, but that's okay, because I want my money to grow, right? I think I can get 6%. All right. So they put their money there. Okay. Now, the last bit I'm going to take. All right. I'm going to keep my money, and I'm going to put it in an account that's 12%. Right. And I'm like, the both of y'all are nuts, because I don't understand why you want to accept 3% and 6% if I can get 12%. Right. And I know I'm about to get 12% somewhere. Right. So I'm going to put my money in a vehicle that's going to give me 12%. Okay. Now, let me stop there. Okay. Because I want to answer 2 questions. Number one, is it possible to get 12% in an account? A lot of times people ask me that question. Where can I get that from? All right. And then number 2, where would you maybe put that money? That could even be like, All right, let me answer those questions. Number one, I know nowhere that would give you a guaranteed rate of return of 12%. So if anybody offers you that, I'm trying to tell you, you should probably run. Okay. But there are different types of mutual funds out there that over long periods of time historically have averaged rates of return in this area. Okay. And so if you know which ones to pick and you work with a professional and you get that figured out, then you'll be good to go. Now, keywords here, work with a professional, okay, to figure that out. But for this example, for this math, we're just going to use 3, 6, and 12. Okay. It's a hypothetical rate of return. Okay. So I'm not telling y'all this is what you're going to get. This is not, I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm telling you hypothetically, this is what can happen. All right. Just so that you can understand how the rule of 72 works. Mutual funds, as a side note, have been around since I think the early 20s, right? And there are thousands of them. Okay. It's probably close to like 30,000 different mutual funds. Okay. And like anything else you buy, there's good ones and there's bad ones. So a mutual fund is literally a pool of professionally managed money. So instead of taking on the risk of owning stock in one company, let's say you put your money in a fund, okay, and you buy shares in the fund, and the fund could consist of up to 200 to 300 different companies in the fund. What it does is it spreads out the risk and it's managed by a professional. So you don't have to decide what stock, okay? And obviously you have access to those in your typical like 401k plans at work and those types of things. So it's kind of a way to save long term. All right, I hope that makes sense, okay? So back to the rule of 72. So we take the interest rate that our money is earning and we divide it into 72, and the answer tells us how many years it takes for your money to double. Okay. So our first account, Agape Love, takes the money at 3%. Now, how long is that going to take to double? Well, if we divide 73 into 72, it's going to give us 24. So that means every 24 years, his money's going to double. And by the time 48 years rolls around, right, he's going to have about $40,000 in that account. Now, with the rate that the economy is going right now, that $40,000 is probably going to be somebody's cell phone bill. Okay. So I don't think that $40,000 is going to do too much, right? But that's okay. So it's going to take 24 years. I don't have 24 years to wait for my money to double. Okay. So now Sharina took her money and Sharina went and put it in a vehicle that's going to give her 6%. Okay. All right. So now if I double the rate from 3 to 6%, what happens to my bottom line amount real quick, right? It doubles, right? Most people say it doubles. That's what most people would think, right? But it doesn't. Here's how it works. 6 into 72 now is 12. So in 12 years, Sharina's going to have $20,000, right? And then every 12 years, Sharina's money is going to grow, right? How long before it doubles again? 12 years. 12 more years, right? So that in 36 years and 48 years, Sharina's going to have about $160,000 in that account, right? So it kind of like quadruples, all right? After the same amount of time, it quadruples, right? Okay, so now let's look at the money I got because I know what I'm doing, right? I'm a financial specialist, right? I know I've been around the block. I've taken a couple of classes, right? I'm still taking classes. I've taken some exams, right? I've learned all of this stuff. I understand how the rule of 72 works. Now I take that money and I'm putting it in a vehicle at 12%. Here's the thing. When you're looking at these examples, most people think about growth of money in conventional ways, right? And what that does is it doesn't allow for the thought about power of compounding money, right? Compounding the way money really works, right? In fact, Einstein said that compound is the most powerful force in the universe. Okay. So let's talk about this 12%, right? Y'all can see right now. 12 into 72 is 6. So my money is going to be doubling every 6 years, right? Every 6 years, it's doubling 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, 320, right? So by the time 48 years rolls around, I'm going to have $2.56 million, right? That's a big difference. But this is what the banks do. This is what the credit unions do. Some of these life insurance companies do, right? They take your money, they invest it in the global economy at a rate of 12%. They're making millions of dollars off of us. And then they're giving us back what we signed for, $40,000, $160,000, right? They're giving us back to what we signed for. So we're basically giving, Sharina said, I want to trade. Too late, right? So we're basically giving them a loan, right? And they're taking our money and they're making money. And this is the same amount of money, $10,000 just sitting in that account. We put it at the difference is $2.5 million, right? And based on knowing where to keep your money, where to put it, can you imagine if you look at this example? I want y'all to ask yourself, who controls the 3%? Money. Who do you think controls the 3% money, right? Typically, where the money is placed when it gets to lower rates, it's usually the banks, right? The banks in general. And what are they doing with the money? And this is the answer that I always get. They're lending it, right? They're lending the money. That's not necessarily how it works, right? The money that the bank lends, they borrow from the Fed. They turn it around and sometimes change the way the interest is computed. Sometimes they add the money on, like percentages, and then they lend it, okay? So the money that we give the banks, they're typically investing it into the economy, like I mentioned, okay? So if they're making 2.5 mil, of course, they're gladly going to give us back the little bit that we signed for, okay? The hardworking money that y'all worked for, and they're trying to take and make money off of us, right? How many of, now your average hardworking family, how many of those can they afford to make? And when do they usually find out about it? Right? When it's too late. When it's too late. Okay. Now, a couple of other points, and then we're going to move on a little bit. If you look at the 12% column, okay, the first two lines of those boxes, how long is that time frame? Right? In other words, how long is the first doubling period? In the 12% box, it's 6 years, right? 6 years. And how much money did I make in the first 6-year period? I made $20,000, right? And how much is the last doubling period between 42 and 48, right? It's the same, 6 years. But how much did I make? I made $2.56 million. So what does that tell us about how costly it is to procrastinate? Right? In other words, if we missed the last doubling period because we just didn't start yet, right? If we started 6 years later, what's the potential cost on the back end? If we started at year 18, we've lost out on $40,000. If we started at year 36, we've lost out on $160,000. If we started at year 42, we've lost out on $640,000, right? That's why it's important that you start now. Start now, right? Because the potential is just too great of a risk, right? You lose a lot when you wait. Because here's what happens. People say, people live on the as soon as island, okay? They say, as soon as I get out of college and I start working, I'm going to start, right? And then they say, as soon as I get set up in this apartment, I'm going to start. And then they say, as soon as we get through this wedding, we'll start saving. Or as soon as we get this new house all set up, we'll get through buying this house first and we'll start saving. What is your as soon as? Right? Cut that out. Get rid of that as soon as mentality and start now, right? Start saving now. It's so important. No more as soon as, okay? Because what's going to happen is the next thing you know, you're going to be 50, 55. You done lost all that time, right? And it's very costly to wait. I just showed you, okay? And this money that we put in, we just sat it there. We didn't even add to it. It's just $10,000 we just put there and we let sit, right? But what could this account potentially look like if we could put $10,000 a year into this account, right? Or 6,000, right? Let's just say we max it out. If we could put $6,000 a year in, or if we put $2,000 a year in, like how big could that number be at the bottom if we change how much we're putting in? Huge, right? Can you see that? It can be huge. It could be 7 figures, okay? People underestimate the power of putting money away consistently over time. They don't understand how it works, and they think that they don't need to, or they think that as long as they're putting a small amount in there, that it's going to work. But the more money that you put in, the better it is for you. All right. So we got to make sure that we start saving. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to jump into, because time is coming to an end, but I kind of want to explain what that systematic investing looks like. Okay. Because now that you have the fundamental rule of 72 on how money behaves, we're going to take it a little step further. And we're going to talk about when it comes to investing, there's 3 D's of successful investing. Okay. The first one is called dollar cost averaging. All right. Dollar cost averaging is the second dollar cost averaging, discipline. And then the third one is called diversification. All right. Dollar cost averaging, $1, right? Cost averaging. The discipline is self-explanatory, of course, just being disciplined, paying yourself first. Okay. Before you pay all your bills, you've got some money that you're putting automatically into your account. I like to say, create your own bill, right? I have a Keisha bill where every month I got to pay my Keisha bill and make sure that my emergency savings is saving up. By the way, we're doing a $1 a day challenge. That means you're saving $1 every day into your savings account for the rest of the year, so that by the end of the year, you have $365 in your emergency savings. What does that do? That gives you the opportunity to start building the habit of paying yourself first. Listen, we can all do a dollar. Okay. So make sure you're part of that challenge. Make sure you're putting away that $1. Okay. I digress. All right. So dollar cost averaging is basically a principle that involves a little bit of math. All right. So let's say that you had a big empty bag, like you see this big shopping bag here on my screen. Let's say you had this big empty shopping bag and your objective was to fill it with candy. So now you're going to be disciplined. Okay. And you're going to set aside $50 every month. So I want y'all to jot down $50 on your paper. Okay. So every month you're putting aside $50 to buy candy, right? Because you have a goal of filling up this bag. So the first month comes around and the candy that you're buying is $10 a piece. Okay. So the next $50, right? You're going to write $10. Okay. So now when you do the math, how many pieces of candy did you put into this bag for $50 at $10 a piece? What's that? 5, right? So you put 5 pieces of candy. Now the second month rolls around. Okay. You're still doing the $50 automatically. Okay. But in the second month, the candy goes on sale. All right. Now the candy is $1 a piece. Okay. So that next $50 that you're spending on the candy, how many pieces of candy did you stuff into that bag? Now it's 50 pieces, right? Absolutely. Now the third month rolls around and there's a shortage of candy because they sold too much in the prior month when it's on sale. And you know what happens when there's a shortage based on supply and demand? We know the price goes up. Right? So now that same candy that was $1 is now $25 a piece. Okay. How many candies are you able to put in your bag now at $25 a piece with that same $50? Now it's only 2, right? You've got 2 pieces of candy that you could put in here. And I'm going to stop here and I want y'all to think about this question. All right. I want you to think about how would you wait until that candy went all the way back down to $1? And then you'd hurry up and sell it all? Absolutely not, right? Nobody's going to do that, right? Now, if you wouldn't do that, then why do people do that with their money all the time, right? I'll get back to that. Now, how much money have we spent on this candy so far? So we've spent about $150 on the candy, right? And then how many pieces of candy do we own? Well, now we own about 57 pieces of candy, right? So we're the proud owners of 57 pieces of candy, and we spent $50, right? So roughly, not exactly, but roughly what we did pay per piece. Let's think about roughly what did we pay per piece for the candy? We probably paid about $3 per piece, right? So for your bag of candy to be profitable, for you to sell, does the price have to go all the way back up to $25? It doesn't, right? Does it have to go to 10? No. What does it have to be more than? Anything over 3, okay? But did we ever pay $3 for any piece of candy that we bought? No, we didn't, right? So the bag is our investment account. And maybe it's our Roth IRA or maybe it's our 401k plan, but the pieces of candy are the shares that we buy every month when we're consistent. And the method of systematically purchasing shares over time to get an overall better amount, it's called dollar cost averaging. Okay. So instead of trying to time it and only buy when it goes on sale, or make a big mistake and only sell when it goes on sale, or buy too high, are you with me on this? Right? If we just systematically buy the shares over time, we could potentially get a much better price. All right. So that's what dollar cost averaging is all about. And the third, diversification, which simply means we don't put all of our money in one place, right? We just have to be smarter than that. Part of the reason why people get a bad taste in their mouth in investing is because they simply don't understand how to diversify. And so we want to make sure that they're not exposed to too much risk. And that's why you have diversification, right? Picture this. What if you had like a giant picture window on your house and the whole front, right, is just one big glass, and the kids are playing baseball in the front of the yard. And the truth is they're not really good at baseball, right? So one of the balls get away and then boom, right into your window. Is that expensive or is that inexpensive to fix? That's probably going to be very expensive, right? So now you got to go replace all the glass. Well, let's say that they're not done with their game, right? So they go to the neighbor's house and the neighbor has the same exact window in front of their house. And this window, right? Only this window has panes, 6 or 8 panes, right? And the same thing happens. Boom, they break the window. Is it more or less expensive to fix, right? Less, because they only broke one pane of that window. It's not the whole window. It's only one pane of that window, right? That has to be fixed. So it's going to be less expensive to fix. Okay. Now, even if that one thing, right, happens, we spread out the risk. And that's called being diversified. So instead of having a big expensive window to replace, it's only one little window that got broken, right? So when we apply these 3 Ds to our investment process, it increases our chances of doing better. And I hope that this makes sense. It's 7:06. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it up. I do have another live this Thursday. So you want to make sure that you jump on in, because I will be covering a little bit more of the financial house. I'll be talking about the life insurance piece and breaking that down, and some of the things that you need to be thinking about in terms of retirement. You want to think about putting money away into a long-term care insurance policy. If you don't know what long-term care is, you can DM me or call me, text me, email me, whatever you want to do. And I can help you understand what that means. That means that you're not going to have to come out of your pocket to pay for any expenses. God forbid you have to go into a nursing home. Those are some things that you have to consider. Are you going to rely on are you going to rely on Social Security when you retire? Is it even going to be around? I heard on the news that they're trying to get rid of Social Security, right? Sigh, right? Some other things that you got to be thinking about. Are you going to have income during retirement? A lot of times people have other income coming into the household. Is that something that you're going to have during retirement? Are you going to need to give money away during retirement? Sometimes, in retirement, people have children who are still hanging on, right? Is that something that you have to consider, right? Will there be additional expenses in retirement? What expenses will you have in retirement? How old do you want to be when you retire? Retirement is no longer how old you are, it's how much money that you have, right? So when you're thinking about that, what we call financial independence number, how much money you need to live during retirement, think about how much money every month are you going to need in order to pay the bills, in order to travel, in order to do all of the things that you want to do. What does that look like? $2,000, $4,000, $20,000? Like, what does that look like? Because then that multiplied by 20, 25, 30 years will let you know exactly how much money you're going to need in retirement, right? Because what we don't want is we don't want you to have to do what's called a soft retirement, where you do retire from working, but then you have to go work a part-time job just so you can get by, right? Just so you can make ends meet. And so we want to make sure that you understand those things. Those are some of the things that you should be thinking about when you're talking to a financial professional. Make sure they're asking you all of these questions. What does your savings look like? What do you have in terms of it? Retirement vehicles? What do you have at work versus what you have personally? What are the best ways to take advantage of the tax breaks, right? Which is the right individual retirement account to put my money in so that I capitalize on some things? You want to make sure that you're asking the right questions. Okay. If you want more information, or if you need anything, just let me know. You can find me. I'm everywhere at Keisha Natalie Cole. I'm also anywhere at Fearless by Design LLC on all the social media platforms. So you can reach out to me. You can DM me if you want to email me. Excuse me. The email address is myfearlesslifebydesign@gmail.com. Sharina, if you could drop that in the chat for me. The email address is myfearlesslifebydesign. Excuse me, my goodness, @gmail.com. Okay. Company is My Fearless Life. The company is Fearless by Design. And the whole goal is to create the life you want without fear, right? Because like I mentioned earlier, most times people don't do things because they're afraid, right? They're afraid. They don't want to, mess up. But here's the thing, man, messing up is lessons learned so that you can do better the next time. So if you're looking for anything, you can always email me or DM me. Again, you can find me at Keisha Natalie Cole everywhere. Make sure you're spelling my middle name right. Natalee. Okay. Not IEEE. And you can DM me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. I'll be more than happy to do a consultation with you. I do them for free. Okay, free 99. That means you can sit down with me and I can share my knowledge with you. I could look at what you have going on, and I'll definitely be able to help you put together a financial game plan. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I promised an hour, and I definitely don't want to go over that. And so have a wonderful Sunday evening. Tomorrow is Monday. We start the week off again. Be blessed. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I will see you this Thursday for my next live on budgeting and how to save. Now, here's the thing, okay? I've got a special promotion going on. For everybody that signs up to be with me on Thursday, you get a free ebook from me, okay? Talking about how to save like a pro. All right. And so if you want to get a copy of that book, make sure you drop your email in the chat. Make sure you can go to my page, my Girl Meets Guy page, and you can click on that. You'll see a link to register, or you can wait, what is it? You can text Fearless to, oh gosh, there's a whole new number for this now. Let me get this number for y'all. But you can text Fearless, and I'm gonna tell you the phone number, and I'll drop it in the comments so that you have it. But you can text the word Fearless to 855 701 1815. So if you text the word Fearless to 855-701-1815, you will subscribe to my text messages. You'll get tips, you'll learn some things, you'll know about all the upcoming lives and how to register for those, and you'll be a part of a community of people that want to live fearlessly in 2023. All right, guys, let's have a fearless life. See you on Thursday.